My journey as an entrepreneur in Nevada has been, in a word, exceptional. And the primary reason why is because I have felt at every turn of building this important business that I have had support. I've had support from county, state, university, UNLV, the entrepreneurial community, the financial and investor community. So I really feel like this ecosystem has been huge wind in our sails at our company. My name is Rich Sloan, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of WAVR, which was launched in May of 2024. So a couple of years in business and a couple of exciting years they've been. What inspired me to start this business in Nevada really comes from the moment I arrived in Nevada, which was vintage 2011. And I looked around and I said to myself, we have a water problem. I came from a place where there was a lot more water. And so I've just had this obsession with water, the future of our community, security of water for the community. And I was incredibly inspired when I met the researchers, engineer scientists at UNLV who had the same obsession, but also had a solution. And I just wanted to throw myself at bringing that solution to the world. The biggest barrier that I face in launching a company is just constantly taking the risk column and moving all of those items over to the certainty column. Replacing risk with knowns. That is the work of a startup. We in a startup company are, swinging for the fence, as they say, but we don't have all the answers from the jump. And so you just have to work really hard to answer all those questions and move things over to that known column. And that's at a technology level, that's at a financial security level, that's at a customer and business development level, that is at a team building level. So it's the work of a startup. And I would say the challenges have been across all those categories, but just keep chipping away at it is my philosophy. And so many of those things that were in the risk column are now knowns, and we're moving beyond those things. I launched WAVR with 3 co-founders. They were all of technical background, and I needed to set up a company. I needed to identify a location for a company. I needed to recruit a team to build out beyond just the co-founders. And I needed to start developing increasing scale proof of principle prototypes of our technology. And I can tell you at every turn of trying to address those challenges, I found people willing to help. UNLV was an incredible partner in getting this company launched. The Office of Economic Development at UNLV and that whole team gets it. They understand how to move stuff out of the way so we can move forward. So that was amazing. I have found that recruiting technical team members to Las Vegas, which I was concerned about, Las Vegas being, the town of sports, entertainment, et cetera, not necessarily these kinds of tech companies as a long history. But what I found was Las Vegas was incredibly recruitable. People wanted to live in this fun town with all of that nature nearby and access to the coast and the cost of living that's so attractive. And so that was easy. In terms of scaling the technology, I immediately found support, commitments from UNLV, the campus itself, and the leadership there, as well as from an organization here in Nevada called WaterStart, which infused capital into the business to specifically dedicated to scaling our technology and putting an actual pilot system of increased scale here in the community in Las Vegas. So, startups are difficult. The challenges are massive. Overcoming those challenges is so exhilarating. The wins are exciting. And because of this ecosystem, I feel like we have had a lot of wins in our first couple of years. What I would tell someone about launching here is something that I've heard said to me, something I've said before. It's something we say in the Las Vegas startup ecosystem. And that is, this is the biggest small town around. It's really unusual how much access you have to decision makers in Las Vegas. People who get stuff done alongside you, for you, with you. So I would say, from an advice standpoint, do not be shy, reach out. There's a spirit of openness to new things here in Las Vegas, and you will get an audience, and I bet you will get receptiveness with your crazy startup ideas. And the more you develop those and leverage those key relationships, the faster your business moves toward success, profitability, and achieving your key milestones. In terms of what Nevada does in a really special way, it's interesting. We're startup companies. Many times that means a tech that's involved. So we're a tech company. We're pioneering something that's new and proprietary and bold. But fundamentally, what actually makes things happen is that person-to-person dynamic. And I really think Las Vegas has a relationship available to you, like a tone of relationship that is really unique. And maybe it comes from the fact that we have this legacy of being innovators, that we have created this incredible metropolis in a place that is pretty counterintuitive to have, this kind of incredible dynamic community. Maybe it's because we are professionals at hospitality and entertainment, but I just feel like people here get it, and they know how to talk to each other, and they know how to, make you feel like you're seen and listened to and understood. And like those are like soft side dynamics that actually turn into relationships and business and progress. So I think that's like a nuanced but very special thing about Las Vegas. I think there's an opportunity in the state of Nevada to improve or maybe fix something. And in my view, that would be, this is something that I think I'm going to be leaning into personally to advocate for. But I think that more support from the state level on a financial basis to incentivize and match grant funding that comes into businesses. This is an exciting idea to me. So tech companies like us apply for federal grants. They're called SBIR or STTR grants. And some of us are lucky enough to be awarded those grants. It's an incredible amount of due diligence. It's an incredible amount of alignment, communication, and really having to work hard to get the thumbs up on the grant. After all of that due diligence is done by really, really smart people, the state of Nevada can leverage all of that due diligence work that has been done and pile on more resources into something that has already been vetted and green lit. And I think that's a huge opportunity. We want our startup companies to be really well funded. We want them to have cash runway. We want them to be able to execute aggressively without compromise. And I think that kind of matching mechanism from the state of Nevada is something that we could do better and would have a lot of impact on our ecosystem. I think it would not only impact existing companies here, but it signals beyond Nevada that you want to bring your opportunity to Nevada, set it up here, and leverage that awesome incentive. We're working on what I believe is the globe's greatest challenge, which is access to water, reliable, pure, and affordable water. And this is no longer the golden age of water where it was, infinite resource and you just turn the tap and it's there. There are communities in the desert Southwest, whether it's this metropolis or a native reservation area, or it's a place in another state, Corpus Christi, which has now 8% of its water left in its reservoir and is in an state of emergency. So this challenge is massive. Here in Nevada, we have data centers that are coming into the state, and part of the next era of the economy, and very important, and I fully embrace AI and its potential and value. But these kinds of companies use resources and compete for precious water in watersheds where they operate. And WAVR is attacking that problem by enabling industry and communities to generate water from the atmosphere and to do this inside the fence, on site, at the industrial facility, and to do it in such a way where the potential for a net zero impact on the local watershed is now real. This goes beyond conservation, this goes beyond reuse. This is a whole new source of water. We have a technology that came out of UNLV that is conceived from its get-go as a scalable solution. So it is made for industrial scale. And we're just really excited about the sweeping impact we can have to make those industries viable in terms of their resource footprint, to reduce their operating risk, to give them control over a critical resource, and to make them great neighbors in their communities. Eventually, we envision actually making community scale water. That's farther down the road and a little bit more grandiose, but maybe that's the second decade of this important business. Initially, where we move the needle is making new water for industry. I have some perspective on the Knowledge Fund, and I would say, I shouldn't use the word some perspective. I have a lot of perspective. And certainly the current startup WAVR has been a beneficiary of that. You know, we've benefited from Knowledge Fund funding that has come through UNLV Office of Economic Development. We have benefited in, I think, very significant ways just at that startup. But my work together with UNLV as an entrepreneur in residence has been funded by the Knowledge Fund. And what that means is there were resources to inject entrepreneurship into a research university and to have the possibility of pulling that amazing thinking from the university out into the private sector to create impact in our communities. So that's really powerful. That's powerful at the university to local community level. That's powerful to the state economy level. That's powerful potentially to create solutions globally. But right here at home, I mean, we feel it quickly. I'm employing people at my company that I spun out of UNLV that I discovered because I was an entrepreneur in residence there. And then I have launched multiple prior startup companies over the decade plus that I've lived in Las Vegas, working closely with UNLV. And in every single case, knowledge funding funds have been there to support the earliest stages of commercialization for those companies. So it's a really useful resource. In practical terms, it has been vital to each of the startups that we have spun out of UNLV. Building a company here in Nevada has many advantages, but there is a fund here called the Battleborn Growth Escalator Fund. That's a long name, but it's unforgettable to us at WAVR. And the reason why is because that fund provided vital funding in the first wave of cash proceeds that came into the business to seed all of the activity and really all of the achievements that we've made over the past critical year. So the funding came in a year ago. We have hired a team. We have scaled up our technology by 2 orders of magnitude in system size, which goes directly toward validation of this important water technology at WAVR. It's notable that there is actually additional appetite by the fund to continue to support and to continue to bring the resources that are vital to these companies. Cash runway means everything. It allows us to stop being crazed fundraisers, and it allows us to be executors on the business. That's why that fund is so important. And the cool thing is, for all of us as citizens of Nevada, is that fund does its own due diligence, but also leverages the due diligence of other investors. So Battleborn isn't just, flying solo on this. They're actually matching funding that has come in from another sophisticated investor. And that's a great way to make sure that we are screening and applying the rigor before investments are made, because this is our money. And it's a really, really wonderful program for the startup economy here, for the tech economy.